Okay guys, I got Leon here today and he's going to replace my air compressor. So this is my air compressor right here, and you know, so what we're going to do is we're going to replace it. Leon found an issue with it, and Leon, you can probably explain what happened to mine.
Usually these air compressors going bad, making a lot of racket, and they're very, very obvious. This one, you could not hear anything wrong with it running. But moving closer, you can hear this shell. Hear the click? And this is free play where the piston is not moving. I can feel when the piston moves, starts to move right there. That's free play. That's how far it moves before a piston moves that direction. That means the crank pin goes into the rod down here, has some serious wear. We're going to try to take this apart when we get it removed to show how badly it's worn. If these compressors fail, there's another problem too. When I get this to the right place.
You guys hear that?
If you can see it in the video, right where that play is, when it hits it, you see this pulley going up and down?
Yep,
not supposed to do that. That's not the pulley. That's causing that wear in here is causing the shaft movement. It's causing this to move up and down at that point where the problem is. It's actually more noticeable on this side.
Okay, let's see.
Does it at the exact same place in rotation every time. But surprisingly, with the motor running, this compressor was not noisy.
Okay.
When they fail, if they start passing metal particles, it'll go through the air injection system and it'll end up into the direct injectors. And we talked about this when talking about fuel injection. Those direct injectors are roughly about $800 a piece. Metal getting in those injectors will ruin them. That's something you really think you have air compressor problem. Get it checked right away. Don't run it till it blows up, passes metal. Then you got all these injectors. You got 3 diaphragms that are all very expensive. You can easily drop $6 grand on one of these things when you have a catastrophic failure on an air compressor. So watch them carefully. We'll continue and get this thing apart, try to pull that apart, and we'll get back after the install to show how to do an oil pump prime the system. They have to be primed. You can't just fire it up with another compressor to run it. You got to purge all air from the oil system.
All right, and we'll continue on once we install. Guys, this is just taking out the old one. We wanted to see what's really happening.
With the cover out, this is the wear point. If you can see that when it blows up, That's, I would guess, 10 to 12 thousandths of wear, which is a tremendous amount of wear for a crank journal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it goes into the needle bearing on the connecting rod for the piston. Odds are this is equally worn on the other side of the roller bearings where you cannot see them.
Okay.
Some guys miss this and they try to replace this assembly, put it back into an old bearing. That usually is not in your best interest on it, because it's a, when you get done, you can still have this free play this one had in it, where it wasn't moving the piston up and down, and had a click, click, click when you rock it back and forth. Fortunately, I think we caught this in time. I don't think it's hurt the direct injectors in any way.
All right. I have Leon, you know, install my compressor here, my air compressor, and so what I'll have him do is explain to you guys, you know, what he did and all that, and how important the air compressor is today. So, in a minute after he's done, I'll have him explain.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. We're going to add more to air compressor replacements. We've already taken care of the replacement, but I want to stress some things that are very important. Over here is the oil pump. Oil does not mix with the gasoline on Optimax motors. This oil pump is critical. You'll see all the lines. There's a line for every cylinder that pumps oil into the crankcase. There's also a line that goes up to the air compressor, which is this one, to lubricate it. Anytime these lines are opened up for any reason, you absolutely got to do an oil pump prime. There can be air bubbles in there, which can restrict the flow rate or get no flow, which can be catastrophic to your compressor or the motor. So if you're working an oil system, on the oil tank over here, this line feeds it. Guys change the tank. They get air in this, you bleed it out by loosening the cap, just let the motor run. But the line that's in the bottom that goes to the oil pump, if that gets air in it, you could create a major problem. They must be primed, and you got to have the computer software to do this. Some guys put the motor into break-in mode, which will also prime it. It is not recommended, because now you're going to run for 8 to 10 hours with double oil in the motor, which can foul plugs, cause a host of other problems on it. So it's best to have the software, have the computer, and do the prime, which is what we're going to do now. Okay, I've already got the computer set up to start this task to save time. So if I go into the test, this is Diacom software, by the way, and you'll see on the little list, oil prime. That's the one you want. Okay, so if you click on it, click start, start again. Now you can hear the oil pump running. You hear it going click, 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 click. Every click is a pulse of a diaphragm. Every pulse is pushing oil out. So now it'll purge all the air bubbles out of all the lines and everything. When this has been done, sometimes on your initial startup, and the first time you throttle the motor up, you're going to get abnormal amount of smoke. Don't worry about it, because it's protecting us. So it'll time out when it's done. The test is pre-programmed to run the right amount of time. Don't repeat this test over and over. You can get too much oil in it, which can cause a hydrolock if it dumps a bunch of oil in the cylinders all at one time when you start the motor. So one time only. Because one is good, that doesn't mean multiple are better. Almost done.
About 10 more seconds.
So if you are doing it yourselfer and you do hang your own compressor, you want to be sure to take this boat into somebody that has the equipment that can perform this for you. Okay, all done. We're going to go back to here where I got live data. We're going to start the motor up and run in a few minutes, check the air pressures, check the fuel pressures again. Let me pull the boat out so it doesn't wet the shop now.
Okay.
the pressures are regulated. It's that 15 pounds difference is what determines how much fuel is supplied to the motor. That's why it's so important. And if the pressures are low, they're going to run lean. They're going to surge and buck, put the motor at risk. So we're good. We're good to go there.
Good to go.
What's up, guys? My name's Asher Haynes. I just came over here to drop my boat off to get service. I met Chow here, making a YouTube video with Leon, the mechanic. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, he's just giving me some camera time, so I'm say some things. I'm fishing the Bass Angler Magazine Proms this year. They're great tournaments. Mark Lassane has done a great job so far this year. We'd definitely like to see some more people fishing those, though. I mean, we're getting kind of low draws this year, anywhere from like 40 to 60 boats. So if you're willing to fish some tournaments and you got some extra money laying around, I mean, get out here and fish, guys. We got the Delta coming up next month, this month, April 26th to the 28th, I believe. Get out there and fish. That's all I got to say. Thanks, guys. Make sure to like and subscribe for Chow's channel.